Before we begin, let me explain some important Japanese cultural context for this story. In Japan, mountain retreats and villa culture are common among upper-class families. Wealthy Japanese people own small mountain lodges called baso, where they escape city life for relaxation. The concept of yamawairo, or mountain spirits, is deeply rooted in Japanese folklore. Mountains are considered sacred spaces where supernatural beings dwell. The story also references Sankaijuku, a famous Japanese avant-garde dance theater group, known for their slow ritualistic movements and pale body paint. This reference helps the narrator describe the creature's unsettling dance-like movements. The evil eye, or jashi, in Japanese comes from global folklore, but has particular significance in Japanese spiritual beliefs about cursed gazes. Now let's begin our story. This is a story from when I was 14 years old. During winter vacation, I was invited to visit my uncle's mountain villa in Num Prefecture. My uncle was still in his 30s at the time. He had originally planned to go with his girlfriend, but they had recently broken up, so he invited me instead. I had always been close to my uncle since childhood, so I was excited to join him. My uncle lived in the same city as me. Early in the morning, he picked me up in his car and we set off together. My uncle was quite a stylish person. Since I was young, he had taught me about various hobbies, outdoor activities, and music. I really respected him. The drive took 8 hours each way, but it was truly enjoyable. We talked, listened to music, and made stops along the way to rest and explore. Eventually we arrived near our destination, and stopped at a supermarket to buy ingredients for dinner. Then we drove up a considerable mountain road to reach the villa. It wasn't particularly large, but it was a stylish wooden lodge with a cozy hideaway feel. Looking down the slope, I could see 2 or 3 other villas. Nobody seemed to be staying in them. For dinner, we had a barbecue in the garden. The meat was nothing special, just cheap cuts, but cooking over charcoal always makes everything taste better. We grilled hormone meats, seafood, and vegetables, eating until we were completely stuffed. We even cooked white rice in a camping pot. It was the perfect dinner. After eating, we went to the room with the fireplace. We watched TV and played video games on PlayStation, Super Nintendo, and original Nintendo systems. My uncle even showed me some adult videos. Since I was still a virgin at the time, it was quite shocking. Late at night we got into telling scary stories. My uncle was skilled in this area too, and his stories were genuinely frightening. I'd like to share those stories sometime if I get the chance. Suddenly, as if remembering something, my uncle muttered, "Never go into the back mountain." According to him, even the locals rarely ventured there. You could apparently find matsutake mushrooms there, though. It might not be related, but he also mentioned that the owner of a nearby villa had once hanged himself in that back mountain. Well, hearing something that creepy, I definitely wouldn't go in there, I thought at the time. We continued playing until about 5 in the morning, then finally went to our respective beds. I woke up to sunlight streaming into my room. The time was already past noon. Feeling thirsty, I went downstairs to get some water. Passing by my uncle's room, I peeked in and saw him still sleeping, snoring loudly. It was cold, but truly a beautiful morning. Mountain air really is completely different from city air. I returned to my room and went out onto the balcony, sitting in a chair. The view faced directly toward the back mountain. It looked like nothing more than an ordinary mountain. Suddenly I remembered there was a telescope in the room. Wanting to see the natural scenery, I brought the telescope out to the balcony. Being high performance and expensive, it really could show distant views beautifully. The town was visible far in the distance, but the surrounding mountains were so clear I could see birds perched on trees. I was amazed. I must have been peering through it intently for about 30 minutes. Just as I was looking at the trees on the back mountain, something moving entered my field of vision. It looked like a person. I could see their back. Their head was completely bald. They were constantly swaying their entire body. A local person perhaps, some kind of dance. They held a sickle in their hand. But what was strange was that despite it being the middle of winter, they were completely naked, some kind of ritual, but there was only one person. My thoughts became confused and various ideas flooded my mind. Since their back was turned toward me, I couldn't see their face. Watching their movements, I was somehow reminded of Sunkai Juko. I shouldn't look at this anymore. I felt this instinctively. It was probably a human but clearly someone mentally disturbed. It was disgusting. But curiosity got the better of me. I zoomed the telescope to maximum magnification. The bald back of their head came into view. The color was white. Just as I felt a chill, the thing slowly turned around while continuing to dance. It probably had what could be considered a human face structure. It had a nose and mouth. However, it had no eyebrows, and there was only one eye located between where the eyebrows should be, positioned vertically. My body trembled. A cyclops. A deformed, dangerous person. The thing and I made eye contact through the telescope lens. Its mouth was twisted. It was smiling. Lord Eater Ace. The moment our eyes met, I was screaming. Tears wouldn't stop flowing. I just wanted to die. An abnormally intense depression-like emotion overwhelmed me. I want to die. I want to die. As I ran around the room, in a half-crazed state, my uncle burst in. What happened? A monster. What? The telescope. The back mountain. My uncle peered into the telescope. Nuv. He let out an inhuman groan and clutched his head. He was crying with snot running down his face. Having calmed down slightly compared to before, I asked, "What the hell is that thing?" Reiko, Reiko. My uncle cried out his ex-girlfriend's name while sobbing. Thinking this was seriously bad, for the first time in my life, I slapped someone across the face as hard as I could. My uncle's body shook in small tremors. 10 seconds, 20 seconds. My uncle looked at me. Evil eye, evil eye. Listen, in my room's desk drawer, there are sunglasses. Go get them. Get a pair for yourself too. Why? Just go get them. I did as I was told and brought the sunglasses to my uncle. With trembling hands, my uncle put on the sunglasses and looked through the telescope. For a while he moved the telescope around. He groaned, ugh, and beckoned to me. Put on the sunglasses and take a look. Fearfully, I put on the sunglasses and peered in. Though blurry through the sunglasses, I made eye contact with the thing among the trees. An indescribable anxiety attacked me again, but not as severely as before. However, my heart was beating abnormally fast. Actually, it wasn't in the same location as before. The thing was moving while doing some weird undulating dance. Its gaze remained fixed on us the entire time. It was coming down the mountain. Could it actually be coming toward us? Michael, can you pee right now? Huh? What are you asking at a time like this? If you can, there's an empty plastic bottle in the dining room. Fill it with your pee and bring it here. With that, my uncle went downstairs. Since there was no way I could pee at a time like this, I stood there dazed. A few minutes later, my uncle returned with a plastic bottle filled with yellow urine. If you need to go, use this bottle, he said, handing me another empty plastic bottle. Look, what is that thing? A mountain spirit, a mountain child. I don't. When I was a kid, my father and I often went camping in the mountains. Not that back mountain though. Mountains are places where strange things happen. Even at night you'd hear people talking outside the tent, but no one would be there. At times like that, if you sprinkled urine around, it would mysteriously stop. Saying this, my uncle looked through the telescope again. While groaning painfully, he seemed to be observing the thing. That thing is moving really slowly. I don't know how many kilometers per hour. It disappeared from view for a while, but I'm certain it's heading toward this lodge. Then let's hurry and drive back. It's probably useless. Unless we can divert its interest away from us, it will probably follow us anywhere. This is a type of curse. Evil gaze written with the characters for evil, and sight, pronounced Yashi. That thing you mentioned earlier. But how do you know so much about it? When I was temporarily stationed in a Nordic city for work. No, I'll tell you if we survive this. If we survive, are we staying here until that thing comes? No, we're going to intercept it. I absolutely thought we should stay barricaded inside, but my uncle's opinion was that we should deal with it before it reached the lodge. If we had to go to where that terrifying thing was, I thought running away would be much better. But my uncle had always been reliable. I respected him and decided to follow his lead. We each took sunglasses, plastic bottles, backpacks with light food supplies, handheld binoculars, wooden baseball bats, flashlights and other items, and entered the back mountain. My uncle's plan was to deal with it before dark. Would we really be able to withstand that thing's gaze? Not through a telescope, but up close, even with sunglasses. Could we endure it? Various anxieties raced through my mind. Even though it was called the back mountain, it was quite vast. We searched around using binoculars to find the thing. According to my uncle, since the thing was moving toward us as its target, we would eventually encounter it. Since going too deep and having it get dark would be dangerous, we decided to wait in ambush at a somewhat open area about 500 meters from the lodge. We just need to divert its interest. Just divert its interest. How? In my opinion, we absolutely must get close to that thing first. But never look at it directly. Look at it sideways. Do you understand what I'm saying? Look away and track its location in your peripheral vision. Then splash the urine we've collected on it. If that doesn't work, listen carefully. I'm being serious here. We show it our penises. What? The evil eye hates impure things. Excrement, urine, genitals. So we can't kill it. But if we can make it run away, I think we'll be saved. And if that doesn't work either, we run. Get in the car as fast as possible. My uncle and I sat on rocks, waiting in indescribable fear and anxiety. We took turns looking through the binoculars. The time was past 4 o'clock. Big brother, wake up. I heard the voice of my younger brother, who had died in an accident when I was 10 and he was 9. Big brother, wake up. You'll be late for school. Shut up. Let me sleep 3 more minutes. Big brother, if you don't wake up you're going to die. Yurei. I snapped awake. Had I been sleeping? Impossible. Not in the midst of all that fear and tension. Had I been put to sleep? I looked at my uncle beside me. He was sleeping. I hurriedly woke him up. My uncle jumped up. I looked at my watch. 5:30. The surroundings were almost completely dark. Cold sweat ran down my face. Michael, can you hear it? What? A voice. Singing? Concentrating and listening carefully, I could hear a voice coming from bushes several meters to our right front. It was gradually approaching us. A folk song-like melody. I couldn't understand what it was saying, but it was an eerie high voice. The fear made me feel like my head might explode. Just hearing the voice made me hate everything in the world. Listen, just illuminate the ground, my uncle shouted, and I shone the flashlight on the lower part of the bushes where the thing was about to emerge. I could see feet. Not a single hair abnormally white. It was approaching while undulating its entire body. How eerie that song was. For a moment, my thoughts cut out. Oh, eek. The thing crouched down, got on all fours, and brought its face to the position where the flashlight was illuminating its feet. I looked directly at it. The same emotions from the daytime attacked me. I want to die, I want to die, I want to die. I'd rather die than see such a face. My uncle also knocked over his plastic bottle and was crying loudly. The dropped light illuminated the thing's body. While singing an incomprehensible, horrifying song, it approached on all fours with movements like a newborn foal. In its right hand was a rusty sickle. I was thinking I should just bite my tongue and die, when, ring ring ring, my uncle's cell phone rang. My uncle, who had been crying loudly, seemed to enter a dazed state and took his phone out of his down jacket pocket to look at it. What is he doing at a time like this? We're about to die, I thought, staring blankly at my uncle in the dim darkness. The phone was still ringing. Ring ring. My uncle stared at the phone. The thing came toward me. I had wet myself in fear. I'm going to die. At that moment my uncle let out a tremendous roar. picked up the flashlight that had fallen to the ground, quickly ran to me and grabbed my plastic bottle. "Don't look at it. I'm going to shine the light on its face. So close your eyes." I frantically rolled on the ground. My sunglasses slipped off and I covered my head and closed my eyes. From here is what my uncle told me later. First, he illuminated the thing's face and looked at its position in his peripheral vision. This is a bit gross, but he put his mouth to my plastic bottle, took urine into his mouth, and while illuminating the thing's face with the light, he crouched down, and at the moment he was about to spit the urine at the thing's face, he closed his eyes. He sprayed it like mist. A scream like a horse's neigh came from the thing. He took more in his mouth, and spat, at the thing's eye, at its eye. An even higher scream than before came from the thing, but it was still there. In panic, my uncle pulled down both his pants and underwear and illuminated his own crotch with the flashlight. The thing probably saw it. Though I couldn't understand the words, it spat out tremendous curse-like words of hatred and turned its back. I had raised my head from that point. My uncle's light illuminated the thing's back. What was terrifying was that even when retreating, the thing continued singing its eerie song, undulating its body and moving slowly, at the walking speed of an elderly person with a cane. We kept the light on its back and watched until the thing disappeared from view, enduring the fear that it might turn around at any moment. What felt like an eternity of pain and terror passed, and eventually the thing's figure vanished into the darkness. We exchanged no conversation on the way back to the lodge, walking in silence. Once inside, my uncle checked that all doors were locked and made coffee. While drinking, he finally spoke. "So that means its interest has been diverted, according to what you said." Probably. Though I have to say my penis had shriveled up pathetically. My uncle smiled wryly. Eventually, he began to tell me bit by bit about the evil eye. Due to his work, my uncle often traveled overseas by ship. I can't go into details, but he was what you'd call a technical specialist. One day while my uncle was staying in a certain Nordic city, a local technical colleague, who could also interpret, said he would show him something interesting. My uncle was led to a deserted alley. He thought it might be a strip club or something similar, but was taken into a small dirty house in the back alley. My uncle was surprised when he entered. Though the exterior was shabby, the inside of the house was completely different. Carpets that were obviously expensive at first glance, vases, precious metals. A pleasant incense fragrance also filled the air. Without understanding what was happening, while my uncle was captivated, he was led to a small back room. There, in the candlelight, sat a man who appeared to be in his 60s. The strange thing was that he wore sunglasses despite being indoors at night. According to the local man, he was a possessor of the evil eye. The evil eye is one of the folk beliefs and superstitions distributed widely throughout the world. It is the ability to curse a victim by glaring at them with malicious intent. It's also called the evil eye, cursed eye, or magic eye. Depending on the power of the evil eye, people can become ill and weak, eventually even dying. My uncle listened to the explanation half-jokingly. He thought this man was probably some kind of magician or performer. The seated man whispered to the local man. The man said that since he seemed unconvinced, they would let him experience the power just a little. My uncle thought this was interesting and agreed. The man whispered to the local man again. The man said, "We will now tie you up. Please don't misunderstand. It's only because my power is so strong. You will struggle violently. I will look into your eyes with my eyes for just a brief moment. That's all I will do." My uncle thought there was probably some frightening device in his eyes. Perhaps his eyes were really damaged and ugly. Or maybe he wore colored contact lenses. Or maybe the incense had some hallucinogenic effect. He was reluctant to be tied up, but since his local friend was truly trustworthy, tied to a chair, the man approached my uncle. The friend turned away. Quietly, he removed his sunglasses. He looked down at my uncle. "Really, it was just like what happened when I saw that thing today." My uncle put his coffee cup on the table and muttered, "The moment I saw him, I wanted to die." His pupils were just ordinary pupils. Nothing special. But anyway, everything in the world became hateful. He stared at me for just 1 or 2 seconds. I don't think it was some kind of suggestion or hypnosis. It was beyond that level. According to his friend, the evil eye man would even kill for money. He was also being used in conflicts between local mafia groups. About a week before my uncle was to return to Japan, he heard that the evil eye man had died. Apparently, he had taken a job that made his organization lose face, so he was eliminated. The man was found dead, tied to a chair in a brothel. Excrement and urine were scattered on the floor. The man had apparently used tremendous force to tear through the ropes and gouged out both his own eyeballs before dying. As I said before, the evil eye hates impure things. Maybe while covered in filth, he was forced to watch stripping or sexual acts. I had no energy to say a word, and just listened to the story. So that monster was also a possessor of the evil eye. As if reading my thoughts, my uncle continued. I don't know if that thing was truly a monster or a human raised that way, but I felt like just running away wouldn't be enough with that thing. That's why I was prepared to die and faced it. They say kappa also hate human saliva. Maybe human bodies are more effective against such things than sutras or amulets. While listening to the story, I remembered the dream about my brother and told him about it. I wondered if my brother had helped us. I was crying. My uncle listened solemnly and remained silent for about a minute before speaking. That might be possible. David was more reliable than you after all. Do you remember about my phone ringing? That was from my ex-girlfriend. But you know, cell phones shouldn't work in this mountain area. Look, there's not a single signal bar right now. So maybe that kind of thing is possible. Let's go down the mountain and head home right now. I'm going to sell this lodge too. I want to call my girlfriend as soon as possible. My uncle smiled bashfully, finished his coffee and stood up.